Working with images in Keynote is very easy to do. Here I have my presentation template that I started. If you've seen some of the other videos, then you might be around the same point where I'm at right now. To work with my images, now remember right here, this picture of this motorcycle, this is part of the template, but I could swap that out. I could easily do that by, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner near the front tire of this motorcycle, there's that little picture icon. If I touch that picture icon, it's going to bring up what's called the camera roll. Now, if this is the first time you're trying to access your camera roll, you're going to get a little pop-up message saying, do you want to allow Keynote to access your photos? Just click yes, because that's exactly what you want to be able to do. So I only have one image here in my camera roll right now, and that's the picture of the administrative office sign here at Middletown. So I'm just going to select that, and notice it took my picture and it put my picture right in instead of that motorcycle. Now that I have this picture in place, you'll notice that it does have the little blue handles on the sides. I could just drag one of those handles and it will give me my dimensions, and I can make that picture larger or smaller. I'm just going to make it about this big. If I just take my finger and hold it over it, now I can drag that around. Again, similar to what we saw with the text, as we drag it around, you can see that you get those little yellow lines that help you know that it is centered or at least aligned properly compared to your other elements. So I'm going to leave the picture there. Now, anytime you're working with a picture, if you just single tap it once, it'll bring up those blue handles again, but it gives you the options to cut, copy, delete, replace. You can also lock it, which will keep it so that you don't accidentally make changes to it. And you can also go in and do some of the animations from this part here. Just like I showed you before, when you select any object on here, I just touched it one more time. I'm going to go up to that little paintbrush at the top, which is my context-specific formatter. If I touch that, it will show me some of the options I have now that I can do with the pictures. And this helps you add specialized touch to it. So taking a look just on this screen here of my choices that show up, I can do a couple of different things with the picture, and I get that real-time preview once I touch it. I can make it look like it's a picture with a little bit of dimension. Notice how there's a little bit of a shadow now down here in that spot. I could choose, kind of softer edges with the shadow. I could customize this a little bit further by touching down at the bottom where it says Style Options. I can add a border to it. So no matter what I chose in that previous section there with the style, I can now go in, maybe I want the border to be a little bit thicker. I could just drag that by changing the width. I could actually change the color of it. Now these colors are going to be based off of the theme that you've selected. I can actually drag that back down. I could also go in and change what the border shape will be like. This one here looks a little bit like chalk. So I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see what that looks like. Notice how that kind of changes and enhances my picture a little bit. So you could go in and you could customize your pictures that way. I could also go over to effects, and if I have effects on because of the option I chose before, it shows that I have shadow turned on. I could actually change the direction of that shadow. If you'd imagine that picture being lifted up a little bit off of the canvas, and if it was a real object and the light hitting it from different sides, it would cast the shadow in different areas. I could also add reflection, which is a nice little feature here to add a little bit of depth to your image. The opacity, I can make it semi-transparent so that other objects, if I have them behind it, will shine through. I could actually change that reflection too to make it a little bit stronger. And I'm just going to hit the little back arrow here, because the other option besides playing around with the style when you're working with images is I can click on Arrange. And as I showed before with the text, I can use the Arrange to move that picture forward or backwards in a three-dimensional space, so that way it would be either in front of or behind my text. Now I also have the opportunity from here to go in. I could flip it vertically, which puts it upside down. I could flip it horizontally, which makes it look like a mirror image right now because of the text, but if you're working with other objects that don't have words or numbers on it, it just could kind of change their perspective. So maybe it's a picture of a person looking to the left and you need them to look to the right, you could flip it horizontally. Then there's a section in here that deals with mask, and mask is kind of a way, gotta get my picture back to normal here. The mask is a way for you to go in, and I'm going to click Edit Mask. This is kind of how you can crop your picture. So I can make the mask larger or smaller so that I could get this picture to try and fit and it will show the area that I want to use. And I just touch the mask button here, and notice how it cropped out part of that picture because I didn't want to use that part. So that is pretty much how you can enter. You can add images. If I want to go put my own image in, I'm just going to go over here. Let me add a blank page here. I'm going to go up to this little plus sign. I'm going to select media. I could go in now. Instead of swapping the pictures out, I could build this slide from scratch and I can insert my picture this way. Notice how big that is, so I'm going to drag it down. And then I could go back just like I showed you and use the format tool. I could change the style and I could customize what that picture is going to look like. If I need to rotate my picture, all I need to do is take 2 fingers and place it on there, and I can manually rotate it around until I get it back to center. So that's pretty much the overview of how you can work with images inside of Keynote.
Sure is.